Hello you guys, and welcome to Abundantly Minimal. My name is Sarah. I'm so happy you're joining us today to talk about different approaches to minimalism. Minimalism is awesome, I love it, and it's changed my life in so many ways. As some of you might have seen in a few of my past before videos, I'll regretfully put that up here in the cards if you want to check it out. But I think there are a lot of great approaches for how we implement minimalism. One approach isn't better than the other one. It's just ultimately about finding a method that works for you. Because I think however we decide to incorporate minimalism into our lives, it can have immense benefits. So I definitely see it as a continuum. And in today's video, I'll talk about at least some of the types of minimalism that I have personally seen or experienced, at least in some fashion. If you do already identify yourself as a minimalist, perhaps you feel like some of these strategies I'm going to be talking about apply to you and have been the way that you have kind of managed to narrow down your things. But if you're just starting out, maybe these are approaches or ways that you can think about getting started. Regardless, I'm really happy to have you here, and let's jump in. So I'm going to break this video up into three main parts. The method in which we simplify our lives. I feel like there's three methods that kind of slide along a continuum here, but again, it's going to depend heavily on the person. I will talk about kind of the strategy in your space, because there are, I feel like, a couple types of that as well. But first, I want to address the types of clutter that we have, because I think for everyone, maybe they're struggling with different types of clutter. When we think of minimalism, perhaps the first thing we think about is just the physical clutter that's in our space. But I think that the other forms of clutter that can interfere with our lives are also really important to talk about. The most obvious of these is the physical clutter. You may have a lot of physical clutter if you feel like your space has too much stuff in it. Maybe you're struggling to find places for all your stuff. Maybe you feel like your stuff doesn't really have a good home. It just kind of is lumped in or thrown in wherever. Maybe you feel as though you are drowning in stuff. Maybe there's just a lot on your different surfaces and it's too much and you feel it, like you physically feel it. That would be more so physical clutter. Perhaps maybe your issue is more mental or emotional clutter. Is there a lot going on in your mind, or too many things that you are thinking of and going through that it's tough to really make it through your day, and maybe it's tough to find joy, maybe it's tough to be your best self because of all of that jumble that's going on in your head. Maybe it's making you really stressed. Digital clutter. Maybe you don't have as much out in the physical space, but when you're on your computer, you have 20 tabs open, all with different things. Maybe you're prone to multitasking and always having some social media going while you're on your computer or other devices. Maybe you have tons of files on your computer, or even just emails that are unorganized too much. You're saving things, but you keep putting things off as far as getting some sort of organization or decluttering within your inbox or on your computer, hard drive, etc. That digital clutter can be very stressful and just as taxing as the physical clutter, especially if you are someone who uses your computer or other devices a lot. And then a final type of clutter I want to talk about today is schedule clutter. So maybe you feel like you're someone who's always on the go and don't have much time for yourself to kind of catch a moment and breathe, relax, do something you enjoy, that your schedule is just so jam-packed, and maybe you want to declutter your schedule a little bit. So I feel like those are four main types of clutter, and with these approaches, I think that you can apply them to any of the types of clutter. So let's talk about kind of the three methods of decluttering, at least that I kind of determined. As you're listening to this, if you do feel like I'm missing any major, I guess, categories or examples or approaches to minimalism, please let me know in the comments below. So as far as methods for minimalism, I feel like there's definitely a continuum with two kind of endpoints, and then for those who fall somewhere in the middle. I think on one side, we have the idea of when you set foot on a minimalist journey, you get rid of every single thing that's excess. So anything that's in your life that is not serving you, gone. You want to try to create that clean slate as quickly as possible. On the other hand of the spectrum is still a desire to live a minimal life, but it's not as drastic of an approach. You might start to limit things that are coming into your life or onto your schedule or into your head, or the digital files. Any of those things, you might start to limit those and then very gradually work through the other things. You might kind of set a system up so as you use certain things or use certain things up, you either don't replace it or you replace it with something better that is going to help you live more simply overall. And then I think in the middle, there is a lot of room for, depending on where you find yourself. While I greatly admire the people who are able to drastically reduce the items that they own and really start with that clean slate, I know for myself, that's not a very realistic option. I personally dealt with some sentimental clutter and some financial guilt. I recently talked a little bit about those in a couple of videos I'll link up here in a playlist if you're interested. But I had to push through those feelings. I had to kind of deal with the implications of, well, I have this, I can use it up and I don't have to buy a new one, rather than just pitching it all together right up front. So I kind of was dealing with that to some degree as well. And so I found myself in more of a middle ground, trying to go through things more gradually. The same way with clothes personally. I know some are able to kind of gut a huge percentage of their wardrobe, really whittle it down to those best essentials. I think for me, like, I genuinely like and wear a lot of the stuff I've had, and I didn't want to just get rid of something for the sake of getting rid of it. So I kind of steered away from that option. But then also I kind of desired results that were quicker than just going, in very, very baby steps, especially when I had so much clutter from the get-go. But I think there's definitely merit if you do decide to take things slower, and honestly just starting to commit and starting to give this all a try, I think can be such an important way to help us simplify and help us move forward with a more simple life. Trying to simplify your life in any of these areas, you want to figure out where you stand on that spectrum. Do you jump in fully and just kind of say no to everything on your schedule and start realizing the time that you do have? Do you jump right in and get rid of those stressors that are causing you mental and emotional clutter? Do you just try to go through and delete all those emails that you haven't read or all those other digital files that you haven't dealt with? That's an option. Maybe on the flip side, you focus on trying to prevent new things from coming in. Maybe you say no to the plans brought up by someone about an event that you didn't really want to go to open up some time on the schedule. Maybe you try to be more deliberate with your schedule and taking a little bit of time for yourself. Maybe you gradually start to say, okay, hey, you know what? I'm gonna organize 10 files per day on my computer. I'm gonna start small, but I'm going to start there. There are ways that you can gradually implement this into your life. So wherever you are along the spectrum there, you can make progress and you can get great results from doing that. I think so often we kind of stress ourselves out that if we're not gonna be perfect, why bother, why try? But that couldn't be further than the truth. There's still so much to gain from this, even if you're just doing a little bit here and there. And then finally, as far as the specific approach or even like the space, how you're going about the minimalism transformation, with physical clutter, I think it's great to think about how you wish to go about it. Do you wish to kind of do a more whole house, holistic approach? Are you going to have a more narrow approach and focus on specific rooms, specific areas within rooms, specific spots where the clutter is building up? This same approach can apply to other types of clutter as well. You can target specific times of the day or specific spots in your schedule where you want to simplify. You could look at certain areas on your computer that maybe are the target areas you want to do first, or just look more holistically at the total number of files or total clutter there. Even with like mental and emotional clutter, which I think is maybe tougher to, isolate and identify, but thinking about like specific parts of your mental well-being, even if you're able to add small behaviors into your life that help bring you to a more minimalist mindset. Whether that's something as simple as thinking of daily thoughts of gratitude or doing some deep breathing, even meditation. Ultimately, I can't emphasize it enough that as you are on a minimalist transformation, there's no right or wrong path for you. You have to do what makes the most sense to you. And ultimately, I think it's definitely something that is worth it and that you will find great value in. I know that it has done so much for me, and that's part of the reason why I'm always so eager to share my experience and share general tips and that kind of thing in video form. Now, if you'd like a little additional content from me, you can sign up for my newsletter list below, and you'll get a couple freebies when you sign up. And if you are a big video fan, you are more than welcome to join our community through the subscribe button down below, as well as right here next to my face. And you will not miss any of our videos then when I put out 3 videos a week to help you live your best life with less. Some past videos over on this side, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Bye.